Morning, everybody. Welcome to YouTube stream. It is Wednesday, the 4th of June, and I am just going to break down quickly just some of the news that we've had this week and going into next week in terms of what I'm looking for. So with it being the first week of the month, I'm always sort of having lower expectations. I did mention this in the room again, just to some newer Discord members. But just in case you are new, typically the first week, let's go back here, sorry. The first week and is always a little bit lower expectations for me just because of news. And let me just put this back on to United States. But first week we have NFP on a Friday, first week of every month. And you'll see the news this week as opposed to next week, and typically like the second and fourth weeks of the month tend to be a lot less busy with news. So in my opinion, you just get much cleaner price action. So next week is obviously a lot less busy. We do have large impact events, but they aren't as sporadic in terms of like multiple days of having news. I'd rather have just a couple days where we've got news, because the start of the week sets up the move, and then the end of the week kind of just continuation of that move. So this week, however, we've just had like literally news every day this week, which just makes it very messy for me to trade. And of course, we're coming off a 4-day week from last week, and also we are coming out of such large completions, which takes us over to the charts on the NQ. So I think I've had now 4 days in a row where I've not taken a trade in terms of a day trade, which it's hard to say, but only experience and screen time can really teach that. Obviously being in the room and watching me trade live is brilliant because I'm giving my analysis every day in terms of what I'm seeing. But some people still won't quite understand like why I'm not taking a trade, even if like you give the full explanation. And so far, no one's said anything to do with that. But it's just sometimes I see a lot of people still potentially wanting to take trades, or other people that I follow online taking trades, and they're just not high quality setups. And it kind of just like begs the question of, why don't you just wait until you get the high probability setup as opposed to just trading subpar price action, which again only comes with experience, and that is pretty much screen time. Watching the screens until your eyes bleed is what I was always told when I first started trading, right? But the longer you do this, the easier it gets in terms of like yesterday, so easy just not to take a trade, because when you have the rules in place in terms of you don't want to short an uptrend, you don't want to short a bullish market, you have to wait for retracements. If those retracements aren't met, there's pretty little you can do. So you pretty much either trade a different market or sit on hands until a cleaner setup presents itself. So on the daily time frame, you can see here on the NQ, all the way back from when we had the Trump tweet on the 9th of April, we have pretty much just been in extensions the whole way up, right? And that negative 100 will get completed at some point, which is 22,313. But before that, we do have a high to high that was traded once to targets, and the second high to, or the first same anchor new high, we bid at 731s, which was the exact low on Friday, the 23rd of May. That was the exact low on the ETH, and that completion is above us at 22,075, which is only about 300 points or so away. Yeah, just, well, from the actual, where are we? From about where we are, about 350, 360 points away. However, we haven't yet traded this on an ETH, so as you can see on my charts, what I would prefer to see, and to be honest, all I'm going to wait for in terms of what I want to see, we have traded a high to high. So we traded a traditional that traded on the 2nd of June this week. That went all the way to its negative 62. The high to high that has traded once, yesterday at 2 p.m., I would like to see that get retested on the RTH or ETH, most likely going to be the RTH today, unless we basically range inside this whole zone and tomorrow we test that low. I don't really want to be taking any trades, and that's kind of why I've marked this box out, just in case anyone is new. That box is pretty much just zoning out the 38 and the 50 of that high to high. That is what I want to draw, and I will only take trades once we trade those levels. So that will be a retest of these lows at 644s, or it will be a break of yesterday's 2 p.m. anchor, and that would put us down into deeper discount, which is a free bar ATR to the upside. That would be a nice rebalance, and it also coincides with a halfway back, which is like double confirmation for me. So that is what I would look to trade, and I'm not really going to be taking anything else other than that. So I will just wait for these levels to form, and once they do, it'll either be a instant rally from those levels, or we will have consolidation. Since we've already consolidated quite a lot, this could just be a quick stop hunt and then a lower high form, and then we're off to the races. But I do still think there will be a second chance to get long on this, even if you miss the initial rally from the lows, because you never know if this is going to react straight away like this, okay, which is very rare, or this could just consolidate, form a lower low, and then we could have an under over inverse head and shoulders, and then of course we can go up like this. So it doesn't really matter exactly what trades. All we need to do is know this is the area where we want to be looking at, and we just wait for price to hit that level, and then once we get into that zone, we can trade it how we would like. So the easiest setup for me would be we trade this level, we form a double bottom low, and then we trade the retracement long here. Okay, that was, to me, textbook. If we don't get that and we get something like this, okay, then I just wait for price to get back above the 50, and I like to see an under over. And as long as we are failing to go lower, longs will be valid. And even if this is a potential short on the day and we get stopped out, absolutely fine, right? You're not going to be right every single day of the week. And I would much prefer to trade the long side, especially when we look at the daily time frame. We have momentum on our side. The only thing I don't like about this is that we are so overextended, we have to have that pullback. And if you do start to form any kind of sell pressure on the daily, all I'm going to do is wait for 20,900s. That level should trade. The only issue is it's so far above. We are sitting about, is it 800 points? Yeah, about 800 points above my retracement level. Like, that would line up really nicely with these double bottom lows. But again, it's 800 points above, so, or below in this case. So that would be the A+ setup, wait for a retracement back down. But if you aren't going to wait for the daily to form, you have to take those smaller time frame trades, and that is where you get your high to high extensions. And if we are going to be aggressive, they will bid. So just be patient, wait for those trades to form. And again, if they don't form, it's most likely going to be a consolidation. And again, this could just complete, right? They don't need to give a second entry because we've already got one. I would like, since this is traded on the RTH, I would suspect we get a second entry. RTH versus ETH. RTH regular trading hours typically give multiple entries. And sometimes on the ETH, I do often see a level hit and it pretty much goes to target. But I would imagine this gets traded at the 38. And again, if it doesn't, brilliant, we miss the trade. But all I know is if it does trade, I will be taking that level as a long interest level, and I will be looking for a setup to form. And then that gives me a really nice risk to reward in terms of a valid setup, right? My targets are equal highs as opposed to, or as well as, sorry, equal highs as well as the 23. Okay, so you have 130, call it 130 points, all the way to 185 points, and whatever the 1.5 ATR is, which yesterday, I mean, geez, 28 points, right? Such a small range yesterday. So if you was able to risk 30 points, brilliant. But if those ATRs do expand and we do get them slightly larger, then just adjust. But even so, it's still a 4 to 6R trade, right? So you can take multiple stabs on this and still take losses and still be right on the trade. That's the important thing. Okay, so even if you take a loss, you don't want to be going too heavy into any trade, because guess what? This can still work, but it just might take a couple of these, right? Different kind of setup. You don't know exactly where the low is going to be. All you can do is place an entry at a sensible area with a sensible loss. That makes sense to use stop loss, right? But again, you're never going to know where that price is actually going to get stopped and reverse from. All you could do is have a plan. This is the plan. But again, you've got a 3.6 to 5.9 R on this trade. you maybe aren't going to be able to get it right the first time. So you have to give yourself wiggle room. Not timing timing the markets, time in the markets. Okay, it's what keeps you alive is your capital, and if you have no capital, you have no skin in the game. Just like they say in poker, if you have chips, you have a seat, right? Same sort of. If you have chips, you have a chair. It's the same sort of thing, right? Do not blow all of your chips on one go, right? You're not going to have any skin in the game to be able to continue, right? So allow this to work, and if possible, if need be, size into it small and let it work in your favor, and add if you want to do that. So that is why sometimes I can still take a couple stop losses and still end up being net positive on the same trade, because my R in this case is quite positive. So this is the trade for me that I will be looking at, and all I'll be doing is waiting for that to form. So I will load Zoom up, and we will go over to Zoom where we will trade live. And anyone that isn't in the Discord, click the link below and you'll be able to get a 7-day free trial to watch me trade live and listen to me throughout the day. If there aren't any questions, which I can't see any at the moment, I will assume all is good, and I will open up Zoom and we will trade live. So I'll see you all in the